the scheme, if we were to talk about the scheme,
Yeah.
it had to come to an end, and this is the time that it comes to market, so to speak, and a new scheme is going to be started. But as African Financial Group, we're looking at this as an opportunity to diversify for even the investors, but for ourselves to use this opportunity to diversify the ownership and to transform the ownership of our economy. So the cash that's going to come, which is 4.5 billion in black hands, needs to be invested somewhere else. The shares that are being taken up in the old share scheme, in MTN shares, no longer the Zakele, need to be diversified. And we think that because this wealth is in black hands, we need to find vehicles and instruments to use for that diversification.
Doctor, the critics will say, well, MTN is already a South African business and it has proud roots here locally and on the African continent, and it has probably taken the biggest risks more than other companies have. As a business, when you look at the platform that you've been provided, how do you see MTN diversifying further? But most importantly, how does it create more value for the South African shareholders, despite the fact that they've got other competitors in the market?
Well, one, it could concentrate on its core business. There's still a lot of opportunities out there. We all know that the new technologies are coming to the fore, like 4G. These technologies are going to make it possible for other offerings for MTN to come up with. We still are talking about e-health, we're talking about e-education, we're talking about new technologies that could, the Internet of Things. Those are the things that MTN could diversify to. Financial services is another big, the insurance, how it's done, funeral, it's another big area where they could diversify to.
Yeah. You know, you talk about things that are actually in my line of work, which I understand very well. Let's talk about that, about penetrating the market even further and how the conglomerates have actually taken advantage of that in the likes of your Vodacom, your Cell C, and your Telcom as well, which are competitors. But they have failed as well to sort of diversify their shareholdership so that they can introduce more shareholding into the black hands, and which is what MTN is trying to do here. I still remember very well the history of MTN going into Nigeria, negotiating and getting all rights approved by the Nigerian government, and that's why they have a strong infrastructure in that particular country, because they were the first to participate in there. But it's a very sad thing to talk about MTN having a bigger shareholdership or a bigger clientele in Nigeria than it is in its hometown in South Africa. How do we rectify this, and how do we convince the investor that the future is bright when you're sitting with some of the heftiest of fines that are sitting out of Nigeria? I think it's about $1.7 billion worth of a fine there. How do you convince investors to continue believing in the dream that MTN has for this country?
Well, if you remember, MTN was actually a second cellular license. It was built on the back of Vodacom. Vodacom was ahead of MTN, and MTN overtook Vodacom, even in our market. So in the Nigerian market, they were trailblazer. The story is quite clear that Vodacom did not make it in that market. I have my own reasons and suppositions
Please share, Doc.
as to
Please
why
don't hide.
we're getting what we're getting from Nigeria.
Yeah.
Obviously, the oil slump,
Under pressure.
Yeah. People have to look somewhere where they would get some money, and maybe there was a mistake when it came to to the disconnection in terms of those untraceables, if you want, SIM cards.
Yeah.
Yes, perhaps things could have been dealt with in another fashion, but I believe that MTN is going to recoup that going forward, and I believe it's actually for investors an opportunity. If you look at what and who they have now gone, the executives that they have come, one, fortunately for me, I actually know them personally. Rob Shooter from Vodacom was an ex-Netbank guy.
Yeah.
Ralph Mupita is an
Financial guy as well.
financial guy from Old Mutual.
Yeah.
And the board includes guys like Hanrati, who are insurance people.
Yeah.
So I am quite certain that they are cooking some insurance products. They've already done, obviously, a JV with the MMI on the Your Insurance side. So there is something that is coming there that probably it will be good for investors going forward.
It sounds great, and it sounds like you're talking about the investment and what's available there. But what about black business? How does black business stand to profit, and how does black business stand to benefit from these new structures?
Well, you could benefit firstly by being just an ordinary investor, which is what AFG is all about, harnessing the nation's wealth, collecting as much money as possible to invest in these structures and using perhaps even the present MTN cash that is coming through to black investors to create such structures. So that's one way. The other way is to come up with new technologies. In health, for instance, I'm a surgeon by training, and I understand what you could do in terms of the 15 million people in South Africa alone that have no access to cost-effective health benefits, who are dependent on the state, yet they could afford something affordable. And that is a big opportunity for e-health and the Internet of Things. And education, and of course, agribusiness, technology is quite important in terms of those sectors. These are the sectors where Africa really needs investment. The infrastructure investment, both in pipes, which is technology pipes, or even in roads, or even in rail, those type of pipes.
Let's get closer to our conclusion here. I want you to tell me about the story of the African Financial Group, where they started, what was the inspiration, and what are the aspirations into the near future?
We're a Pan-African investment company. We are centered around healthcare in terms of our investments, and we invested in some of the good stories, Netcare, Aspen, Cipla, and we took that money and accumulated and conglomerated it to invest further in African development. Firstly, we invest in healthcare itself.
Yeah.
We are, as you know, we are harnessing the new products using technology-based healthcare solutions, internet, telemedicine to deliver healthcare across the continent.
Does this include NHI?
This is actually including NHI. It would make NHI cost effective.
Yeah.
It would make NHI easy to administer.
Yeah.
And even all the assumptions that we've seen in terms of NHI do not take the advances in technology in place, which makes it unaffordable. With the advances in technology, NHI would obviously be affordable.
How do investors get a hold of you?
Me, I have a website, www.africanfinancial.com. Secondly, I have a Twitter, at AFG_wealth. And that's how investors can get hold of me.
Yeah.
And we have advisors, and we've got transactions which we're going to announce early in the new year, which will, I would like the market to just wait a bit for us.
We're looking forward. When are you listing?
Perhaps not the holding company,
Yeah.
but the investee companies.
Fantastic. I look forward to that, Gil. Thank you very much for your time here on BizPulse. We hope and wish that you have the most success in all your ambitions, and hopefully we can see more black excellence being portrayed in your business, not just for MTN, but for other listed black entities as well, as we continue to look forward into 2017. What would you like to say to the viewers out there for the 2017 year?
For 2017, we believe that, yes, there are problems in the economy. Yes, there's Brexit, there's Trump. But we think that if we were to take that energy we used to stop or to fight or to work against the downgrade, we use the same energy as CEOs and owners of business to bootstrap ourselves in South Africa, would go forward much better than now.